But now let's shift focus and understand the larger impact of this in terms of global experts who will be joining me, Lisa Curtis and Daniel Marquet, to talk more about, as I said, the larger impact of this if we were to look at it from what could be India's options going forward, what all is at play here. Thank you so much, both of you, for speaking to me. Both of you understand South Asia very well. You understand India-Pakistan dynamics very well. And Lisa, let me start with you as someone who's been was so involved in the previous Trump administration. Talk to us about how do you see the Trump administration's support for India, something that one saw immediately after the attack with the phone call, the correction that was made by the US State Department to the New York Times report, all that putting in perspective the amount of support or alignment that the Trump administration has right now with Prime Minister Modi when it comes to war on terror. What can we expect there? What is the kind of leeway and elbow room that India has there?
Well, I think that's right. I think we can expect more solidarity, more support from the Trump administration with the Indian government. Already before this terrible terrorist attack, the U.S. Had been signaling its interest in enhancing relations with India. Vice President Vance's visit there signaled how important India is to the United States and its policies moving forward. So I think that this terrorist attack will only bring the two countries closer. Both of our countries have experienced Islamist-inspired terrorism. So I think that I see continued support for India. But at the same time, I think the U.S. needs to strike a careful balance of showing support to India, condemning strongly the attack, but at the same time, counseling restraint, because nobody wants to see a conflict erupt in South Asia. Obviously, India feels the need to retaliate. It's already done so by suspending the Indus Waters Treaty. Now, of course, this is unlikely to have an immediate impact on Pakistan's economy, but over the long term, this could have a tremendous impact. India could begin to build structures on its side that would prevent water flowing into Pakistan. Pakistan itself has called it an act of war. So India has retaliated. And we do hear Modi talking about terrorist camps on the other side of the border, which I think, concerns people that India may be considering some type of retaliation like we saw in 2019. But the problem with that kind of retaliation is it sends you up an escalation ladder that neither side would be able to control. And in 2019, I think both sides got lucky in a way because the Indian pilot that survived the dogfight was then, turned back over to India as sort of a peace offering and allowed that situation to de-escalate. We don't know what can happen this time if things escalate even further.
All right, Lisa, let me then quickly get a word in from Daniel as well. India has exercised restraint. The options and the immediate responses that have been taken so far by India have been very calibrated, calculated, but at the same time hitting where it hurts the most. You mentioned Indus Water Treaty that's been kept in abeyance right now. Impact will be felt in some time, but that's just one of the measures that India has taken so far. Daniel, what do you expect could be the next, given the fact that what next is something that many people are asking right now in the region?
Well, the first thing to recognize is that India actually enjoys a great deal of international sympathy and support on this issue, particularly when framed as having been an attack on innocent civilians, tourists. There's no question that the world generally is aligned behind India, and India has a lot of friends on this. But as Lisa pointed out, it does look like India's next step beyond putting the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance is some sort of kinetic military operation against Pakistan. And this is certainly understandable. India is angry. And we have seen other states like Israel also be angry after horrific terrorist attacks. But I think there are lessons to be learned, even from the Israeli case, about the dangers of entering into military operations where the end is not clear from the start. And as I look at the Pakistan problem, the depth of that problem is extreme. There is not an end to that problem through easy military action. Otherwise, India would have already undertaken that. India's tried a lot of different steps with Pakistan. Few of them have had any significant success. So as India entertains military operations as options, which I think is normal under the circumstances, the question is, what do they expect to get? How can they end that military campaign in a way that leaves India better off than when it started? And right now, I don't see any easy answers to that question.
Okay, Lisa, which brings me to ask you another important aspect of this entire conversation is the Simla Pact that has been mentioned. Do you see that this was, of course, after the 1971 war, and the impact do you think that will have on the bilateral relationship from an India point of view, from New Delhi's point of view? Do you think that could allow India to be able to explore more options?
Well, I think Pakistan has said that, it has the right to suspend any and all treaties, including the Simla Pact, which would be, I think, quite dangerous. This is a very important agreement between the two countries, and removing it obviously would be very dangerous on both sides, in terms of both sides would have, options to try to, change borders through military means. So I think that would be an extremely dangerous step. I think, the most helpful thing that we have seen from the U.S. side, I think in the last, 25 years or so, was after the Kargil crisis, the U.S. really changed its position to respect for the sanctity of the line of control that divides Kashmir, essentially making that the de facto border. And so this is something that's very important and sort of inherent in the Simla Pact. And so removing that, I think, would be a major step back in the relationship between India and Pakistan. All bets would be off. And, it does seem like it would be a precursor to another war in the region, which, nobody wants. Nobody wants to see war break out between two nuclear armed states.
All right, I'll leave it there. Lisa Curtis and Mr. Daniel Barclay, thank you so much for taking out the time and speaking to me on India Sense, on a story that we'll keep coming back to.